Welcome back, everybody. Today we're here to talk about The Walking Dead Season 10 and who's gonna kill Alpha, because I do believe it's gonna happen in Season 10. And I was rewatching The Talking Dead from last week's, like the finale, and they brought up that question, and they did like a whole poll, and Melissa McBride, who plays Carol, she gave her thoughts on it. So we're gonna discuss all that in this video today, and then I'm gonna give my thoughts on who I think is gonna kill Alpha, and then you guys in the comments can do the same. So with that being said, let's get started. Alright, so this was the question they asked on The Talking Dead. They said, who do you want to see take on Alpha? And then the results were Carol 35%, Negan 60%, Daryl 5%, and then Ezekiel was 0%, which is kind of funny to me. I guess nobody wants to see Ezekiel kill Alpha. And while they were having this conversation about this question, Angela Kang was also on Talking Dead, but she wasn't saying anything. It was so funny because she was just like staying silent while these two were like, Chris Hardwick and Melissa McBride were talking about who it could possibly be. Angela Kang probably knows the answer because she's working on season 10 already, most likely, and she's the showrunner, so it's probably her decision. But Melissa McBride did say it'll be cool if her character is the one who takes down Alpha, but ultimately she said, I think it'll be Negan because it'll have some sort of redemption, which is super cool how she brought that up. She also did bring up that she knows it was Negan in the comics, and they started getting a little bit into the comics, which was super surprising for The Talking Dead, because they usually don't talk about comic spoilers on The Talking Dead. So when they just full on said that Negan is the one who kills Alpha, I just found that super surprising. But yeah, she does bring up a good point, Melissa McBride, saying that because 60% of the people did say Negan, so yeah, it could be that either they read the comics or the fact that if Negan, like, because Melissa said if Negan kills Alpha, it'll have like a good redemption arc for him, and I think that's going to be really important for Negan, and that's why I think Negan has a good chance of killing Alpha. But I personally would love to see Carol kill Alpha. The reason I would love to see Carol kill Alpha is because Henry obviously died because of Alpha, and I think King Ezekiel also has a good chance of dying in the Whisper War, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I just think Negan is already kind of setting up his redemption, especially with him saving Judith, and him and Michonne, they had a good conversation there at the end of the finale, and I feel like I don't really see, like, is Michonne really gonna throw Negan back into the cell? I mean, she could, but I don't know. I feel like after that scene, maybe she's gonna give him a position, like maybe not a good position, but I think he's gonna be like working now in Alexandria. That's what I see. That's what my opinion is. So I know what happens in the comics because, you know, Negan wants to prove himself to Rick. Again, Rick isn't on the show anymore. It could be Michonne, but he already kind of did that by saving Judith. So I think Carol should be the one, in my opinion, to kill Alpha. And on top of that, I don't think Negan is like a very hated character anymore, you know, because obviously Jeffrey Dean Morgan's charisma brings a lot to the character. Like, people like Jeffrey Dean Morgan and they like Negan. Like when Negan was messing around with Father Gabriel in episode 16, I saw so many people saying that was their favorite part about the episode because Negan is so funny. And then on top of that, he saved Judith. So I think Negan is already a character people like. So I feel like him, you know, killing Alpha would prove to the survivors, but I think also for fans, I think it has to do with fans also, and him killing Alpha wouldn't do that much for fans in my opinion, and I think Carol killing Alpha would do a lot for fans because she lost her son to her. I'm also really surprised that nobody said King Ezekiel. Now, I don't think King Ezekiel's really gonna do it or anything. Like, I don't think he's gonna kill Alpha, but still, like, Alpha killed Henry, so I think, you know, it should be up for question. But maybe that's because King Ezekiel might die in the Whisper War, and maybe some people kind of see that happening, and that's the next thing I want to talk about. Because King Ezekiel did survive the Pikes, which was very surprising. You know, they definitely set him up to die, like, throughout the entire episode, and even the trailer for episode 15 and the fair. So much focus and attention on him that they really set it up for him to die, but he survived, which was very, very surprising. But maybe that's because they want to give him more of a bigger death. And we know from episode 15 to 16, there was not a big time jump, but a couple months. So there has been some time that passed, and there still isn't no Whisper War. So I do think in order for another Whisper War, or in order for the Whisper War to trigger, like King Ezekiel said in the episode 16, he said, like, we don't want to cross into their lands because we might trigger a war. I think that's what's gonna come back and bite them in the back, because King Ezekiel was the one person saying that we don't want to go into their lands, and I feel like if the Whispers are somehow watching him and watching the people, maybe they come back to the hilltop because they know where the hilltop is. They don't know where Alexandria is, so maybe they come back to the hilltop and kill somebody, and then that's what's gonna trigger the war. Because you could say that the snow was holding them back, and maybe they want to go to war, but they just couldn't because of the snow. But we don't know that just yet. But I just don't think it's happening, because the snow wasn't that insane even in the beginning of the episode. Like, it got worse as the time went on. So it's not like the snow just held them back immediately, right? Like, we saw that it gradually got worse and worse. So they waited at least like 1 or 2 months and didn't go to war yet. So I don't think they want to go to war. I don't think it's something they want to do. So I think maybe if somebody else dies, like King Ezekiel, who's a big character, that'll definitely trigger everybody to go and fight. And who knows, maybe there could be like a second Pike lineup. Like, imagine how crazy that would be. And the reason I bring it up is because something similar happens with Negan, because at the end of season 7, he did have like a mini lineup with Rick and Carl there. But in the comics, it was a lot more people there. I think like Heath was there and some other Alexandrians. So Negan did have like a full-on second lineup, and then Shiva came and saved them. In the comics or in the TV show, they kind of toned it down and it only had Rick and Carl. But there was essentially like a second lineup. So maybe when they cross into their territory, the Whispers are watching them, and maybe that's gonna be their revenge, or their, because they said like anybody, like they can't cross the border or they die. Like, that's the whole point of the border. So maybe the Whispers saw them and now they're gonna take revenge in season 10. Now, I don't know if like a full-on second lineup is gonna happen or anything. I'm just throwing that idea out there. I definitely think it's possible. I mean, I definitely think some people are gonna die, especially like 1 or 2, because now we don't know where the Whispers were when they crossed into their territory. Like, we saw at the end of the episode, they were somewhere else where it wasn't snowing. But maybe there were some people like hiding and watching them. And that's what Yumiko also said when they were discussing it at the sanctuary. Yumiko said maybe they're watching us all this time. So maybe that was a bit of foreshadowing there. Like, why would they just randomly throw in that line of dialogue for no reason? When Yumiko said that maybe they've been watching us this entire time, maybe that's them kind of telling us that, yeah, the Whispers were, maybe like even 1 or 2 Whispers were watching these people cross into their territory. They couldn't really do anything about it because it was snowing heavily, but then after the snow clears up, they go report to Alpha, and Alpha obviously is going to take revenge for that. And, I don't know if you would say revenge, but she's going to like say, you're not following our rules, so this is, what you get. And she might kill somebody for that. And the reason I think the person who's gonna die is gonna be King Ezekiel is because of what happened to him in episode 60. And first of all, Carol and him broke up. And I think there was like an interview or something where Melissa McBride said that she thinks King Ezekiel and her are gonna get back together, but they haven't even begun filming season 10 yet, so we don't know that for like that was probably just like an assumption or something. I don't know if she like really knows it's gonna happen. But I do think King Ezekiel dying is gonna heavily affect Carol, which would lead to her killing Alpha, because like she just broke up with this dude and then he ends up dying. Like, imagine how much guilt she would feel. And The Walking Dead does that a lot. Like, characters, like whenever somebody dies, it's gonna have a huge effect on somebody else, right? And not only the fact that she was married to him, now that she left him, she's gonna feel like guilty for leaving him there at the hilltop. Because remember, I don't think the Whisperers know where Alexandria is, so all the people at Alexandria most likely are safe, but they do know where the hilltop is, and King Ezekiel is at the hilltop. And the hilltop, they lost their leaders, like all of them really, Jesus, Maggie, Tara. So, I mean, King Ezekiel most likely will lead. I don't know for sure yet, but Daryl's also at Alexandria. So maybe the hilltop's going to have issues in season 10, like for leadership and stuff like that. And maybe things aren't going to go well for them, and the Whispers could easily, just invade them and just go in there and maybe kill some people. And if some Whisperers saw them crossing into the territory, they would probably go report to Alpha, and Alpha would come kill somebody for that. And don't forget, when they were in the sanctuary discussing how to get to the next way station, Carol brought up that we should cross Alpha's territory, and King Ezekiel was like the only person who was against it. Everybody else said we have to do it because it's the fastest way home. If we go any other way, we're not gonna have enough food and stuff like that. So King Ezekiel was like the one person who was like, we don't want to trigger a war, guys. But everybody else wanted to go, so obviously he had to go with them. So I think that's also why it makes sense for King Ezekiel to die, because like that's kind of also how The Walking Dead I feel like works. Like when characters don't want to do something, or it's like one person singled out, like that one person ends up dying, and then that kind of affects everybody else. And that's going to hugely affect Carol, because she's gonna be like, it's my fault. You know, I'm the one who brought up the idea to go into Alpha's territory, thinking that it was nothing bad's gonna happen, and now Ezekiel died because of that. So I think all of that's gonna lead to Alpha or Carol being the one to kill Alpha. So I just think it's gonna be a little bit underwhelming if Carol isn't the one to kill Alpha. Like, she already lost her son to Alpha, and if she loses King Ezekiel, I think it should be her. Like, just for it to be like, just so it can feel complete for her character. And on top of that, I think it's gonna be cool to see Carol kill like a big villain like that. Like, she hasn't killed like one of the main villains yet. And I think, you know, since she's been there since the beginning, I think it's going to be awesome if she's the one to kill Alpha. So that's how I see it going down in season 10. I think Alpha's going to come to the hilltop and kill somebody when she finds out that they cross into their territory. And I think that somebody's going to be Ezekiel, which is going to trigger the Whisper War. And then ultimately, I think Carol's going to be the one to take down Alpha. So that's what I see happening. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree. Who do you think is going to kill Alpha? Do you think it's going to be Carol? Do you think it's going to be Ezekiel, Daryl, Negan? Who do you think is going to be? Let me know in the comments down below. I am going to wrap it up there for this video. So hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating. Again, leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching. And for more Walking Dead videos just like this, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys later.